Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about how do we get through storms, right? And the key point I want to make in this is about where is your focus? What are you looking at in your storm? It's very critical to how you get through your storm, right? You will have problems going on all around you, right? And it's very easy to look at the problems. And when we look at the problems, what we do is we magnify the problems. We make the problems, bigger than they are. And we do not want to make the problems bigger than they are, right? We want to actually shrink the problem, right? So, when problems occur, right, we tend to take our eyes off of our normal way of living, right? And we tend to just sit down and give air and give attention and give focus to the problem. And this creates more problems. And I'll explain what are the negatives of doing that. And now we have to train ourselves, guys, right? That when a problem comes, that we do not focus on the problem. Because if we focus on the problem, we're only going to make the problem worse. Amen? So, what do we do then if we do not focus on the problem? The Bible teaches us clearly we have to focus on the promise, right? We focus on the outcome and not what is going on in front of you. For the book of 2 Corinthians verse 4, verse 17, chapter 4, verse 17, right? He says that for our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory, while we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. So the things that are seen are the things that are happening around you, right? The things in the physical realm. You're seeing those things. And he says, look not in verse 18 at the things that are seen, but look at the things that are unseen. What is unseen? The unseen is what is happening in the spirit, what God is doing in his situation. And he says, look not at that. So how are you going to look at something that's unseen? Right? And that's where your mind comes in, your imagination comes in. You need to think about, that's where you're looking, you're thinking. You need to think about what God said, the promise. You need to see the promise. Right, guys? So when something is happening, right, what I want you to do is to take your focus off your problem and look at the promise. So I'll give an example. You're having problems in your marriage, right? What I want you to do is don't look at every negative thing that's going on in your marriage right now. And look at the positive. What is the positive? God says he has good plans for you, right? What is the positive? God says he can get through. You can get through this. God is going to take you through this. God says that he'll turn around evil for good, right? So these are the positives, right? So focus on that. And I'll tell you the positives to come out of a situation. These are the three positives I need you to focus on. One, right? God is going to take you out of it, right? He will do what his word says he will do. You need to keep the faith. That is one positive. The second positive is what he says in 2 Corinthians 4:16. He says that though the outward man perish, yet the inward man is renewed day by day. So what is the second positive? The second positive is that the inward man becomes stronger. He becomes better. How? When you go through a trial, guys, right? The inward man, he becomes stronger in faith. He learns to trust the Lord. He learns to depend upon the Lord. So when the next trial comes, guess what happens? He's stronger. So the outward man may be perishing right now. He may be struggling, right? But the inward man is getting stronger. Why? Because you are building up in the inward man. Paul prayed that prayer in Ephesians. He says that he prayed that your inner man be strengthened, right? And that is what is happening in a trial, guys. While we don't like the trial, and no one wants a trial, right? But a trial has purpose, right? And one of the main purposes is that he's going to strengthen you on the inside. No one goes through a trial, right? And they don't come out stronger on the other side. I want you to keep focused on that. You're going to become stronger on the other side. And the last thing and the last outcome of this trial, right, is very critical. Right? He says in verse 12 of 2 Corinthians chapter 4, so death worketh in us, but life in you. And you know what he's talking about, guys? Paul went through many things, right? And what Paul went through, he was able to share with others, and he was able to encourage others, and he was able to tell others what the Lord did for him. One such example, he says, I was going through some serious poverty. I had nothing. And he said, while I had nothing, the people of I think it's Macedonia, right? They provided for me every day because I trusted God and I believed in God. And that is what they did for me, right? And Paul, because he was in that situation, was able to share forth the glory of God. So when you are in your trial, guys, it is not only about you, but when you come out of the trial, what you will be able to do for others. So that is one of the other positive outcomes you look forward to in your trial. So we're going to switch focus in the trial, and we're not going to look at the negatives again, but we're going to look at the positives. And when we look at the positives, this is what is going to affect our day. We're going to have more joy. We're going to have more peace, right? As it is right now, you don't have the joy and the peace. Why? Because you're focusing on the negative. But if you switch your focus, guys, and you start to focus on what God says, the outcomes, the 3 outcomes we spoke about, guess what you're going to have today? Your mood going to change. Your climate going to change. And guess what this does? This also brings faith, guys, right? When your mind focuses on the right things, which is God's things, guess what happens? You start to believe it. So where your mind is at is what you believe. I wanted to get that. So if your mind is focusing on the negative things, that is what you're going to believe. But if your mind is telling you, hey, I'm gonna get through my marriage, right? I can see in my mind, hey, this is all going to be well soon. Everything going to be good. You know what that does, guys? It increases your faith. It builds your faith. And once it builds your faith, faith is the bridge that links the spirit to the real, to the physical, right? And once you have that faith, right, what is there in the physical, in the spirit will manifest in the physical. So when you change focus and you focus on what God's promises, it affects your faith. When you focus on what is happening in front of you, it also affects your faith negatively. It creates what we call unbelief. And what happens with unbelief? Guess what happens? You are slowing the process of manifestation. Faith is what brings the manifestation. Unbelief is what destroys the manifestation. So whatever problem you're in today, I just want to share this with you, right? I need you to focus on the positives. And when you do that, you will see a change of attitude. You will also see a quicker manifestation of the promise, right? Because now you are building your faith. Amen? So I just want to pray with you quickly, guys. Lord, first we thank you for this word. We thank you for the word in season, Father, for whoever will be struggling with that, with problems today, which are many, Lord. And I pray, Lord, that, they will adopt your word, your teaching, Father, that they would be able to maneuver their struggle, and they would be able to have a happier, a more peaceful, a more productive, a better day, Father, knowing that you are in charge, trusting in you, Father, and that, they will have positive outcomes through this situation, and it will be turned around for good. In Jesus' name, we thank you for doing it, Lord. Amen.